First, we'll begin by covering internal control systems. In my opinion, I think this is a very interesting topic. Internal control helps to protect assets, ensure reliable accounting, uphold company policies, and promote efficient operations. It really covers all operations of a business. All of the companies you work at have internal control procedures in place, whether you know it or not. It's about protecting assets and information. For example, how does your company protect cash? Do they use locked registers? Do they have safes with combos? Do they deposit money daily at the bank? It's all about mitigating risk and solving problems before they happen. How does your company protect its inventory if it does have inventory? Are there sensors? Are there security cameras? How does your company protect information and prevent anyone from altering that information? Are there passwords on computers? Is access limited to only certain positions? All of these items are internal control procedures. We'll be going over some more examples coming up. Let's first discuss why we have internal control procedures. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act is something we discussed way back in Chapter 1. SOX has led to many changes in accounting, especially regarding internal control procedures. SOX requires managers of a business to certify that their internal control system is working effectively, along with the auditors also certifying this. The goal is to have an effective internal control system. Auditors are concerned with how internal control affects accounting records and financial statements. Having an ineffective internal control system can cause false accounting reports.
There is a YouTube video that I like to play for you at this point. Since I am uploading my videos to YouTube as well, I don't want there to be a copyright issue. So what I would like for you to do is to pause this video, scroll down past this one on the Learn Chapter 8 page to find the YouTube video called Internal Control Example. I marked it as a required video to watch. Please watch that video now, and when you are done, resume this one.
I hope that video helped to visually show you how internal control relates to accounting records. Now we will discuss the top most common internal control principles that all companies should have in place. We will be going over each one of these individually on the next few slides. They are establish responsibilities, maintain adequate records, ensure assets and bond key employees, separate record keeping from custody of assets, divide responsibility for related transactions, apply technological controls, and perform regular and independent reviews. The first internal control principle is to establish responsibilities. Tasks should be clearly established. Tasks should be assigned to one person. I like to say that this principle has to do with access or authority levels. What access does each level of employee have? What can he do or not do? For example, at OCC, who can enter a grade for you? In this course, at least. I can, but not every faculty member can access your grade in my course. There's different levels of responsibility here. At your job, what can the manager do that you can't do? Not everyone has the same responsibilities or the same access. The next internal control principle is to maintain adequate records. This helps to protect assets, and it also helps managers monitor company activities. Examples of this could be to use pre-numbered invoices, numbered checks, or to send your financial information to the accounting department on a timely basis. The third internal control principle is to insure assets and to bond key employees. Having insurance for your assets is very important to mitigate loss due to theft or disaster. Employees handling cash should be bonded, which is another type of insurance that can help prevent loss due to employee theft. The fourth internal control principle is to separate record keeping from custody of assets. This means that the person who is in charge of or who has access to the company's assets should not also have authority over the accounting records. This can help prevent theft and fraudulent transactions. This is somewhat similar to the next principle, which is divide responsibilities for related transactions. Responsibility for transactions should be divided between two or more people. This ensures that the work of one person acts as a check on the other person to prevent fraud or errors. For example, one employee should not have access to everything in the business. There should be different people responsible for different functions. If one employee had access to everything, then there would be no one to check their work in case of fraud or error. Applying technological controls is an important principle. This includes using cash registers to make electronic records of each sale and also using time clocks. Having employees punch in for the day on the computer can prevent time theft since the employee doesn't have access to alter the record. Another example is having passwords to access computer systems, just like you have a password to log in to Connect. This prevents others from logging in and making false records on your behalf. The final internal control principle is to perform regular and independent reviews. We've discussed audits before, and this is why companies hire independent third parties to conduct audits. As you can see, many of these principles overlap and relate to one another. Internal control doesn't come without its limitations. No company is foolproof from theft. One of the limitations includes plain old human error. This could be because the employee is negligent, fatigued, or lazy, they used misjudgment, or was confused, or even just incompetent. Managers could have the best controls or checks and balances in place, but employees don't adhere to the rules, then it defeats the whole purpose. Human error is usually unintentional. On the other hand, intentional acts is considered human fraud. This is when the employee intentionally bypasses controls to defraud the company for personal gain. One example of this is collusion. Collusion is when one employee is working with at least one other employee, if not more, to bypass internal control procedures. The company can separate responsibilities or use other internal control procedures, but it would be bypassed if employees team up to commit theft together. We always have the triple threat to worry about as well. This is also known as the fraud triangle, which we discussed in chapter 1. As a reminder, the fraud triangle is opportunity, pressure, and rationalization. Managers want to mitigate this threat by using internal control procedures to make sure that there isn't opportunity, that there isn't pressure on the employees, and that employees won't rationalize their behavior. Lastly, costs must not exceed their benefits. Having an internal control system can be very expensive. For instance, security systems can cost millions of dollars. Is that necessary for all businesses to spend this amount of money on security systems? No, it's only worth it for maybe the companies that have very sensitive inventory, very expensive inventory, such as maybe research labs or government facilities. At this point is usually when I ask, what are the assets in the classroom? There's a computer, there's a desk. Do we have security guards posted outside every classroom to make sure no one comes in to steal the computer or the desk? No, it wouldn't be worth it for us to do that. The value of the items in the classroom is not worth the amount it would cost to pay security guards to stand outside the doors every day. Therefore, companies really only spend what they need to based on what it is that they have.